Two, three, four, five. Hmm. 2, 3, 4, 5. Huh. Right. Even. Oh yeah, let me actually. Okay. Change this. Have everything in order. At most. Okie dokie. Everything is so far so good. So aloha, and we are going to read a tidbit, or me going to just skim through this article because before we were talking about the Gregorian calendar, and then I saw a modern day count or variation where they follow time following this destination ISO 8601 is an international standard covering the worldwide exchange and communication of date and time related data. And yeah, it is maintained by the Geneva-based International Organization for Standardization (ISO) and was published in 1988 with updates in 1991, 2000, 2014, and 2019, and an amendment in 2022, meaning that it's going to be updated further. But this is more like a standard way just to organize everything when it comes to international affairs. That's pretty much it. And it's been recent since the 80s, late 80s. So yeah, going through all this, yeah, when it comes to the history, when it comes to something that you follow. General principles is date and times values are ordered from the largest to smallest unit at a time. Age. I already skimmed through this, so I remember a gist of it. So reading it around, well, bring the jog memory into action. Now the dates. Well, actually, let me just focus here. For reduced precision, any number of values may be dropped from any of the date and time representation. And the standard supports the additional of the decimal fraction to the smallest time value in the representation, just to make things pretty simple and everybody to follow. Yeah, then it shows you the following state, 1875, When it comes to the years, this is just an example of how things are followed. And standardization, calendar dates, pretty much. Online dates, this is how this designation is. Times, pretty much that. Times zone designators. Time zones in ISOs 8601 are represented as local time with the location specified as UTC or an offset from UTC. So, yeah. If a no UTC relation information is given with the time representation, the time is assumed to be in local time. Yeah, it follows a lot of other things. There's a reason why we don't know much about calendars, like what I kept on saying on and on and on and on before. Because it's just a bunch of things to follow that, you could just learn as the way you go. Now, durations. Durations define the amount of intervening time in a time interval and are represented by the format dish, as shown on the side. This, and yeah, time intervals, yeah, repeating intervals, gotcha. Then the truncated representation, the replicated, okay. Standard distinctions, TC's adoption as standards, national standards. And then you see also a chronological year numbering, date and time representation by country, date format by the country, and horology. Horology. Yeah, there's a lot of things followed. Now, let's see. I don't know this. Instrument for telling an hour is the study of the measurement of time, clocks, watches, clockworks, sundials, hourglasses, kleptodrolls, timers, time recorders, marine chronometers, and atomic clocks are all examples of instruments used to measure time. Now, yeah, it just talks the gist of how we tell times and stuff. And seeing it being short, seems like a lot of this page just links you to other wiki pages that go more further in depth. So after going through all the calendars, I figured I'd just go to the Julian calendar. That is the second to most common calendar. First, the Gregorian, but it is the Gregorian was its predecessor. The predecessor of the Julian calendar. So might as well learn how this goes. The Julian calendar is a solar calendar of 365 days in every year, with an additional leap day every fourth year without exception. The Julian calendar is still used in parts of the Eastern Orthodox Church and in parts of Oriental Orthodoxy, as well as by the Burbs. What is this? Are Eastern Christian churches adhering to the Miaphysite Christology, with approximately 60 million members worldwide? The Oriental Orthodox churches are part of the Nicene Christian tradition and represent one of the oldest branches. Okay. I did not know that. This calendar, proposed by the Roman consul Julius Caesar in 46 BC, was a reformer of the earlier Roman calendar, a large lunar-solar one. It took effect on 1st January 45 BC by edict. It was designed with an aid of Greek mathematicians and astronomers such as Sosigenes of Alexandria. The calendar became the predominant calendar in the Roman Empire and subsequently most of the Western world for more than 1,600 years until 1582, with Pope Gregory XIII promulgated a minor modification to reduce the average length of the year from 365.25 days to 365.2425 days, and thus corrected the Julian calendar's drift against the solar year. Worldwide adoption of the revised calendar, which became known as the Gregorian calendar, took place over the subsequent centuries, first in Catholic countries and subsequently in Protestant countries of the Western Christian world. Well, from what I know best when it comes to Pope Gregory XIII, besides having a more accurate calendar and not worrying about having to be accurate. I mean, you still have to be accurate. They have to change every, a few centuries. The next one's going to be like the year 2100, when the Gregorian calendar is going to be a bit of a shakeup when it comes to leap years and stuff. But anyway, biggest thing has to do with Christian holidays, particular Easter, which pretty much passed war. But that was a thing that everybody in the Christian world, especially in the Catholic Church, needed to put as a main reason to change the calendar, because it's something really important, and if they're going to do some change and put a lot of effort to it, it might as well be something worthwhile, like able to practice religion with some ease in the future, knowing when is Easter in the Gregorian calendar, which you're going to do with the Julian calendar. But yeah, that's all that. The Julian calendar has two types of years: a normal year of 365 days and a leap year of 366 days. They follow a simple cycle of 3 normal years and 1 leap year, giving an average year that is 365.25 days long. That is more than the actual solar value of approximately 365.2422 days. The occurring value, which varies, which means the Julian calendar gains a day every 129 years. In other words, the Julian calendar gains 3.1 days every 400 years, while the Gregorian calendar gains 0.1 days over the same time. For any given event during the years from 1901 through 2099, its date according to the Julian calendar is 13 days behind its corresponding Gregorian date. For the instant Julian 1 January falls on Gregorian 14th January. But with all this hullabaloo, yeah, when it comes to the Gregorian calendar in the year 2100, it's going to have a change in its date. But looking in the Julian calendar all through that century, it's going to be like a 13-day behind difference. So, yeah, yeah. At least you don't have to worry about changing the data count for everybody in the world several times per century. It's just going to be one time per century or two. Okay, looking through here. Yeah, calendar today, Gregorian 9th April 2023. Julian is 27th March 2023. So you can sort of see how offset it is. And for what I remember, Julian calendar is something people still practice when it comes to old legacy systems, like let's say nostalgia or analog things that people follow. Also, when it comes to customs or traditions. I bet that you have a professional person that follows calendar for the Julian in the Vatican because of some record keeping. I'll be surprised if they don't. Yeah, table of months. Let me skim through this. Yeah, close to her. History, motivation, context on the form, adoption of the Julian calendar, along with Julian reform, realignment of the year, months, intercalculations. What else? Correct theory on months, links. Okay. Years, link years, leap years, error. Okay, following that, let's graph months, days, name, Roman, Germany, Eastern Europe, year numbering. So on comes New Year's Day. Alright, let's graph showing all the countries that adopted it. I saw this before. Replacement by the Gregorian calendar. The transition history and modern usage when it comes to the Eastern Orthodox, date of Easter, Christianity, Oriental Orthodox, and verbs. See also all this. Now I remember when it came to that graph that shows the countries adopting it. Yeah. Now the history and origin, sure. When it comes to other things, well, it's a lot of things to recall, but when it comes to leap year errors, when it comes to accuracy, I got a gist of what you'll encounter. So, try. I only know just by skimming through all the topics, so yeah, I'm not gonna speed read this. I'm just gonna read fast pace, whatever I need to cover or at least talk about things I don't know. Okay, history and motivation. Context of the reform? Okay, yeah, that's a lot. Well, yeah, let's go to the history and motivation. The ordinary in the previous Roman calendar consists of 12 months for a total of 355 days. In addition, a 27 or 28 day intercalary month, the mensis intercalaris, was sometimes inserted between February and March. This intercalary month was formed by inserting 22 or 23 days after the first 23 days of February, the last 5 days of February, which counted down towards the start of March, became the last 5 of the intercalaris. Okay, then going all the way to here. Too many intercalations were omitted, as happened after the Second Punic War and during the Civil Wars. The calendar would drift out of alignment with the tropical year. So the Civil Wars, yeah. List of Roman civil wars and revolts include civil wars and organized civil disorder, revolts, and rebellions in ancient Rome until the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Okay, so it wasn't just the Senate War, but also a period at different times. The calendar tends to change. The calendar would drift out of alignment with the tropical year. Yeah, moreover, between intercalations were often determined quite late. The average Roman citizen often did not know the date, particularly if he were some distance from the city. Yeah, that is pretty much the thing with months. I guess that when it came to the Catholic Church and whatever it persists, it had such a dominant force. Everybody knows the date because, hey, everybody attends church. Everybody has services by the church. They will obviously point like, hey, it is Easter time. Remember, you got to practice the good old Lord being responded back to Earth like it's a video game. But then again, there is a Jesus Christ video game, so that is something. Okay, dokie. Caesar Reforms was intended to solve the problem permanently by creating a calendar that remained aligned to the sun without any human intervention. This proved useful very soon after the new calendar came into effect. Varro used it in 37 BC to fix calendar dates for the start of the fourth season, which would have been impossible only 8 years earlier, a century later, when Pliny dated the winter solstice to 25 December because the sun entered the 8th degree of Capricorn on the date. This stability has become an ordinary fact of life. Like it's a thing under. Okay, context of the reform. Okay. So, because of it being, well, yeah, the gist of the context is Persia, Egypt. They had calendars, they revised it, make things more accurate. They had issues too. So, Julius thought, hey, let's just revise that and also name it after them. Okay. Caesar imposed a peace and a banquet was held to celebrate the event. Lucan depicting Caesar talking to a wise man called Erosus during the feast, stating his intention to create a calendar more perfect than that of Eidolus. Eidolus was popularly credited with having determined the length of the year to be 365 1/4 days, but the war soon resumed and Caesar was attacked by the Egyptian army for several months until he achieved victory. He then joined a long cruise on the Nile and Cleopatra before leaving the country in June 47 BC. Yeah, Cleopatra just being his babe for the campaign. Caesar returned to Rome in 46 BC, and according to Plutarch, called and his best philosophers and mathematicians of this time to solve the problem of the calendar, Pliny says that the Caesar was aided in this reform by the astronomer Sojournus of Alexandria, who is generally considered the principal designer of the reform. Sojournus may also have been the author of the astronomical Almanac published by Caesar to facilitate his reform. Eventually, it was decided to establish a calendar that would be a combination between the old Roman months, the fixed length of the Egyptian calendar, and the 365 1/4 days of the Greek astronomy. According to Macrobus, Caesar was assisted in this by certain Marcus Flavus. Adoption of the Julian calendar. One two one two one two. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. More days for the etc. Yeah. Okay, when it comes to the adoption of this, they had to follow a bunch of other calendars, like the Greek and Egyptian. Other people were involved. The Julian calendar spread beyond the borders of the Roman Empire through it is used as a Christian liturgical calendar. Yeah, when a people or a country converted to Christianity, they are generally also adopted the Christian calendar of the church responsible for conversion. Thus, Christian Nubia and Ethiopia adopted the Alexandrian calendar, while Christian Europe adopted the Julian calendar in either the Catholic or Orthodox variant. Starting in the 16th century, European settlements in the Americas and else likewise inherited the Julian calendar of the mother country until they adopted the Gregorian reform. The last country to adopt the Julian calendar was the Ottoman Empire, which used it for financial purposes for some time under the name Romi calendar and dropped the escape years, which tied it to Muslim chronology in 1840. Okay, so I didn't know this context under that, but it seems like, well, I get gist of why these calendars are popular is because in the Christian world, when it became a big sprawling thing, it spread it that way. Okay, now you have the Julian reform, realignment of the year, the months, its calculation, and so on. Okay, yes. Okay. Just gonna read the first paragraph, the last paragraph. The first step of the reform was the realignment to start of calendar year 1 January to the tropical year by making 46 BC 445 days long, compensating for the interior calculations which had been missed during Caesar's pontification. And you have, yeah, because 46 BC was the last of the series of irregular years, this extra long year was and is referred to as the last year of confusion. The new calendar began operation after realignment has been completed in 45 BC. So similar to Gregorian reform, where before they implemented it, they actually waited a few, did a lot of changes and stuff, but it seems like because of the issues in administration, especially when it comes to all those Roman revolts and civil wars, there was quite a shakeup until they actually adopted it roughly this time. The Tuscan portrait of Julius Caesar. Alrighty. Now you have months, yeah, adding 10 days to a regular pre-Julian Roman year of 355 days. Creating a regular Julian year of 365 days, yeah, it's just confusing. There's some canons, nonens, and ideas, nor did it change the positions of these 3 dates from the months. Yeah, talks about a lot of other stuff that we don't do. These days were all initially characterized as Dies Fatis FC Roman calendar. Okay, what's this? Okay, the Roman calendar was the calendar used by the Roman kingdom and the Roman public, although primarily used by the Romans pre-Julian calendars. Now, understanding that the Gregorian calendar was coming from the Julian calendar, and then the Julian calendar came from the old calendar that was used not when the Roman Republic was a thing, but from the Roman kingdoms was a thing. Yeah. And then, so on and so on. It's like a building block, each and each. And even looking through all these calendars, I still don't know much. But I take it that's the case for all these people who are trying to be experts in understanding calendars. Intercalculation. How to get rid of this thing? Icon. The old intercalcular month was abolished. The new leap year was dated as Antidambisixmus Commundus Martis, the sixth double day before the calendars of March. usually abbreviated as AD bis v Galdamart. Hence, it is called in English the Bissextile day. The year in which it occurred was termed Annus Bistis. In English, the Bissextile year. I don't know what I just read, man. I don't know what I read, man. An encryption from AD 168 dates the AD, 5th Cal March, and there is no doubt that makes the day eventually became the earlier of the 2 days for most purposes. The Mino complex calculators of Easter follow his rule, as does the linear calendar of the Roman Catholic Church. The effect of the basic day of the numerical cycle is not discussed in the sources. Yeah, it seems like there is some key gaps in understanding how calendars work. During the late Middle Ages, days and the months came to be numbered in a consecutive day order. Consequently, the leap day was considered to be the last days in February in leap years, i.e. 29th February, which is its current position. Now, some Grodsko's incorrect, I just butchered that name to hell. Sacro Bosco's incorrect theory on month links. The Julian reform says the links of the months to be the modern values. However, a different explanation for the links of Julian months, usually alleged in the 13th century scholar Sobratsko, was also attested in the 12th century works and is widely repeated, but it's certainly wrong. Yeah, it follows all this. So, furthermore, Sobratsko's theory is explicitly contradicted by the 3rd and 5th century authors Censoros Enus and Macrobus, and it is inconsistent with seasonal links given by Varro, writing in 37 BCE, before Sextus was renamed for Augustus in 8th BCE, with their 31st day Sextus given by the Egyptian papyrus from 29th BCE, and with the 28th day February shown in the Fastus Karatani, which is dated before 12 BCE. So a lot of mismatches and stuff like that. Also, I think that there's not much music that comes from this end. Let me actually see. It could also be. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. So, yeah. He theorized that some things were incorrect. Other scholars said it was incorrect. But even then, they sometimes had some confusion. So it took a while. How while? Around like a few centuries to disprove it. Yeah. Year length, leap years. The Julian calendar has 2 types of years: normal years of 365 days and leap years of 366 days. There is a simple cycle of 3 normal years followed by a leap year, and this pattern repeats forever without exception. So at the very least, when it comes to the Gregorian calendar, it only happens not that frequently as the Julian calendar. Jesus Christ. It's so freaking annoying. Yeah. Yeah, it talks about the comparison like that, the examples. Is there anything I can pick through here? I know there's no pictures. I know there's this graph, but I went through here because this is so much. Alright, now leap year error. Although the new calendar was much simpler with the Julian calendar, the prosecutor initially added a leap day every 3 years instead of every 4. There are accounts of Solus, Blaney, Amnes, Santunus, and Cenerilus. I'm just going through all this. He says a bunch of things, but there's all this stuff. I'm looking at the time right now, so I can finish this article next time. It's pretty good to actually come. Well, at least I feel good, but, you know, I'll let y'all know how I feel when it comes to going back, reading all this, getting everything set up, all that jazz. But, without further ado, aloha.